Hey guys, in this week's episode, we are talking about our most anticipated movies of 2023. But before that, we're talking about Copenhagen Cowboy and The Last of Us, the premiere, episode 1. So join us.
Welcome to the Casual Cinecast, powered by Cinelinx. My name is Chris, and with me as always is Mike. In honor of our most anticipated movies of the year, what is your most anticipated event of the year? It could be like your birthday or Christmas. What do you look forward to the most throughout the year?
Oh my, this is unexpected. Let me think. I guess I would say my most anticipated, it's probably always Christmas. I'm a big Christmas guy. Always have been.
Yeah.
Nice.
Absolutely. That's a good one.
That's sweet.
Also with us is Justin.
Hello.
What's your most anticipated event?
Well, this isn't one that happens like every year, so it's not my yearly most anticipated, but this year...
the leap year.
Yeah, February 29th is a big day for me. No, it's the Women's World Cup.
That way a woman can ask a man to marry them.
That's true. Sadie Hawkins' wedding or whatever the heck that is.
Isn't that the premise of that movie? Leap year?
The Irish?
I don't know. I never saw it.
I think so. I think with Matthew Good, from my understanding, the premise was on a leap year, a woman can ask a man to marry them.
That's just not true, because that can happen literally any time, any day.
I know. That's why it's so dumb. And everyone forgot that movie immediately.
Yeah.
It's funny, that movie just came out on Netflix. But, Justin, what is your most anticipated event this year?
This year, it's the Women's World Cup, which happens once every 4 years, much like the Men's World Cup. But the Women's is happening in June, I believe. And typically, the U.S. women do pretty well. So that's a really fun one as compared to watching the men's in the U.S. team in the World Cup just kind of do averagely.
So you heard it here first. If you don't hear from Justin for the month of June, he's okay. He's just watching soccer.
Yep. Yeah, if you don't hear from me in general, that's usually what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's why we didn't hear from him the entire month of December.
Also true. Chris, what is yours?
That's an interesting, vacation. I think I'm going to do Fantastic Fest again this year, and I think that would be my most anticipated event.
Yeah. I want to try to go to that, but I don't know if I can do that this year.
So that's why you were asking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm so excited about it. The tickets are already on sale. We should talk about it. Maybe the three of us can go, or two of us, or something like that.
You being paid by Fantastic Fest to bring this up?
I wish. Man, I wish I was getting paid by anybody but my regular job.
Tickets on sale now.
Yeah.
He's getting a percentage of the slice, or the whole thing, whatever the expression is. Anyways,
percentage of a slice of the bite of the pie.
All right. Anyway, if this is your first time listening, normally we'll start off every episode in a section called News on the March, where we talk about the film and TV that we have been watching, and then we move into our feature review. But not this week. This week we're going to do the News on the March, but then we're moving into our most anticipated films of 2023.
Yeah, one of the things we like to do here on the Casual Cinecast when we're not anticipating films, we put out Casually Criterion episodes. In these episodes, listeners get to choose a film from the Criterion Collection, or actually, we choose a film from the Criterion Collection, and listeners get to pick out of those three which one we do. Most recently, we did My Own Private Idaho, and coming up, probably next week, is Solaris. So, pretty excited. Justin, where can they find us to vote on these things? I forgot.
They can find us on... You have such a bad memory. Anyways.
I know,
I've said this probably like 300 times now, and you can't remember? You have to ask
More
me?
Than that, probably.
Okay. Fine, I'll tell you again. You can find us on Twitter at Casual Cinecast. We're also on Facebook and Instagram, but we're not really active there. As Chris said, the listeners choose our Criterion films on a poll. That poll is put up exclusively on our Twitter account, so that is the best place to follow us. If you want to send us any questions, any messages, send us messages on there or to casualcinemedia@gmail.com. And of course, if you don't like the show, I was gonna say if you like the show, give us a review. But if you don't like the show, don't give us a negative review.
Don't give us a review.
Yeah, just
forget us.
Just keep it to yourself.
If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. News on the march?
All right.
News on the march!
All right, Chris, first up, what have you been watching this week?
Oh, boy. I watched a little TV show from an auteur director, Nicholas Winding Refn, or as he is called in his show, NWR. I watched Copenhagen Cowboy, and you know what? I kind of liked it, but I can't help with the feeling that it is the kind of like that I had for Inland Empire, that nobody, like especially you two specifically, won't like it. But I kind of liked it because it's crazy and weird and so different from anything. There's a lot of neon light in this. There's like... it's really interesting. His whole mode and is so different than anything else, really. There's a lot of posing and a lot of long takes. He pans the camera around the room a lot, and people talk. They don't talk in like humans, but it's so like interesting and so weird. Copenhagen Cowboys, in fact. No, they... If you were to watch the first 3 episodes, and then I told you what happens in the last 3 episodes, or what the show's really about, I think you would be completely surprised. And you'd be like, what? And so it's like this kind of these disjointed... and in fact, the first part of the show is a lot better than the second half, is what I would say.
What Refn movie is this most like?
Well, I haven't seen Neon Demon. I would say it's later Refn. Did you guys see, what was the other Amazon show that he had? It was a TV show with the guy from Top Gun.
Guy from Top Gun. I know there's like a skull on the thing. There's like a skull on the thing.
Yeah, Too Old to Die Young is the other
That's
show.
It.
I would say if you've seen, and I didn't finish that one, but if you've seen that, it's very similar to this.
Well, have you seen Only God Forgives?
I haven't. I've seen, so out of the TV shows or the movies, I've seen Pusher and Drive, of course. But I haven't seen Only God Forgives, which is next on my list. So it's kind of tough.
Well, in my opinion,
about
Drive is good, Only God Forgives is bad, and Neon Demon is good upon retrospect. So I'm kind of wondering where on the scale of Winding Refn does this lie? And it sounds like probably, based on your description, a little bit more Only God Forgives and Neon Demon.
Yes. From what I've seen of those movies, like the trailers and such, I do think, it fits into that program a lot better. I mean, just kind of what it's about is it's about this one character that is like a good luck charm, and she goes around to these different families and either brings them luck or disaster, which is interesting. So it's kind of got this like folklore thing to it that's going on. It's just really...
When is it set?
Modern times, but it's... there's a lot of drug dealing and prostitution and stuff like that. I don't think Nicholas Winding Refn has a great opinion of humanity. In fact, oftentimes some of the characters are, especially when they're out of screen, they make the noises of a pig. And he takes like the noise of a pig and then cuts it into it, as opposed to, like their actual noises. So... Yeah, I don't think he has a great opinion of humanity.
Well,
in general,
why would you?
Yeah, which isn't a surprise if you've seen Humanity. Yeah, it's really interesting. I don't know that you guys would like it. I would say watch like the first 3 episodes, and they're not super long. It's just like a hour long, episodes. you would know by the first episode if you're going to be into this or not, I think.
Right.
It's just really interesting. And the other thing that's really interesting about this, too, is I don't think he's ever going to get a chance like this again. In fact, I think a lot of auteur, I'm using air quotes, but you can't see it, directors won't get this blank check that they've been getting because of this, the streaming channels collapse, and the money, not collapse, but tightening of their belts from Netflix and Amazon, and maybe Amazon and Apple are kind of immune to it. But I don't think we're going to see, even like Martin Scorsese with some movies that might be coming up later in the show, might not be getting these blank checks like they have been for the last 5 to 10 years. So I do find that interesting when a director can just do whatever they want, without kind of like oversight. So that's interesting about this by itself. So, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. But the thing I wonder is,
to see him. Go ahead, Mike.
Oh, I was going to say, well, what I wonder is, some directors, they kind of earn that blank check.
Sure.
Has Nicholas Winding Refn really earned a blank check? It seems like he's gotten it a couple times because of the goodwill from Drive.
Sure.
But I don't think he's been critically or audience opinion successful since then, which
Drive.
is fine. I think people are entitled to make divisive stuff. But in regards to like the blank check and getting your own series and things like that, it's like, is he really the right guy to hand that much money to?
I mean, probably not.
Financially, from a business perspective, I mean.
Yeah, and I guess I don't know how much something like this Copenhagen Cowboy costs, but, I just don't... Giving him that kind of money seems kind of silly because whatever he makes, you kind of know isn't going to be mainstream, right?
Right.
Or maybe he's kind of like misleading them, kind of like David Lynch kind of did with Twin Peaks and Mulholland Drive. Yeah, this is what I'm going to make, and then he kind of sneaks his own stuff in there.
Yeah.
But I kind of get the feeling that a lot of these things are, they're like, we'll buy Nicholas Winding Refn. He can put something on our show, and it's kind of a prestige thing, as for your streaming network, as opposed to something that makes financial sense. So,
right. Well,
what were you going to say, Justin?
Well, I was going to say that, is this the last chance to see him? If that's what you were saying, that at his, I guess, most uninhibited, or him doing his thing and maybe not being restrained by, studio wants or musts if they give him money for a movie or whatever. But I think Mike's point is that I'm not sure that anybody who gave him money wouldn't know what they were doing already. So
yeah,
sure.
So I don't know. I guess I with some of these directors that have gotten that sort of that thought of, someone gave them a blank check to do their vanity project, and look at that, it doesn't have 100% in Rotten Tomatoes, so therefore that's their last blank check. Like, I think the people who have done that this year, these last couple of years, have been people that everyone knew what they were getting into bed with. So I guess I'll see it when I believe it, that these directors aren't going to get that.
Sure, and that makes sense, and only time will tell. I do think money was a lot looser in the last 5 years from the streaming services, is how I look at it. And so now that they're pinching pennies, the things that they're going to pinch out are going to go away are these the Copenhagen Cowboys, things that are vanity projects and don't make a ton of money, that they were okay with having on a streaming service simply so they could say, look at this, it's on our streaming service, even if they didn't make money from it. Does that make sense?
Right. Well, I think what the last couple of years have proven is that streaming is very hard to make profitable.
Sure.
And, we've seen with things like Netflix and HBO, Warner Brothers and stuff like that, is that, if things aren't a hit right away, it's very hard to make them a hit, and sometimes things will just straight up disappear, And so what we once always thought is like, okay, just because, Netflix produced this movie, it will always be here. Sometimes we don't know what the algorithms that they're going off of are telling them, right? And so like what Netflix is, it seems bizarre to me, but it seems like they have poisoned in like the entirety of the goodwill that they've had over the past couple of years, canceling shows and making horrible
it used to be
business decisions. Like I don't know anyone who gets excited for anything coming out on Netflix anymore, unless it's like a singular movie,
Sure. I mean, I think I was excited about 1889 because I'd watched Dark, and I enjoyed that quite a bit. And it used to, but then they canceled it almost immediately, which is weird. Is really weird because what are they going to do with one season of a show that was obviously set up to be multiple seasons? Like Dark was set up to be 3 seasons. So what are they going to do with that one show now? The one season of a show. And that's the
case with multiple shows. So basically, just the lesson learned, I guess, is that if it's on HBO or if it's on Netflix, don't get too invested in wanting to see it finished.
I mean, I think we're back to TV. This is what it was like when things were airing on, networks, right?
Yeah.
Like a show would come out and we'd be like, I hope this keeps going, and sometimes it would get canceled. But Netflix used to be this bastion, for me at least, as a viewer. I was like, oh, well, if my show gets canceled, maybe Netflix will pick it up. Or if it's on Netflix, I don't have to worry because they're just going to keep making it, which, however... I just don't think that that's going to be the case anymore. And this kind of gone way off from Copenhagen Cowboy, but I think this is an interesting aspect to that conversation.
Is this a limited series? I don't know if you said that already.
It can be. But I do think that there is something at the very, very end that sets up like a sequel series. But I'm not upset. Like, I'm not on the edge of my seat to see what happens next. I was satisfied mostly with where it went.
Awesome.
And also, it's just so weird that it's like, it's not it was a natural stopping point or whatever, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I wasn't invested in the story as much as I was the vibe, if that makes sense.
All right.
Well, I think that's kind of a good description of the show in general. It's not a show, it's a vibe. So, in fact, I actually think the best way to watch this show is with some marijuana, which obviously makes me a square because of the way I just said it. But yes, Stone is the way to watch this because, and I didn't watch it Stone, just for the record, but
so you're only speculating.
Definitely, yeah. I bet it would be pretty great stoned, is what I'll say. So if you guys watch it and you watch it stoned, let me know.
Will do.
Well,
listeners and Mike and Justin.
Yeah. I'll let you know if I watch it sober too. Just
yeah, that'd probably be a good idea too.
Just so you know.
But yeah, that's kind of the Copenhagen Cowboy. If anybody watches it, let me know because it's weird and I'd like to hear you guys' thoughts.
I would like to hear your thoughts if you ever decide to watch The Neon Demon.
Yeah, well, immediately after Copenhagen Cowboy, I went and watched Pusher because I was like, how did he get here? So I watched one of his first movies, and Pusher was great. But I think I need to go through his filmography and just kind of check stuff out.
Yeah, I haven't seen a single thing he's done since Drive, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I think he's an interesting person to talk about, and I'd like just, even if I don't love his movies when I watch them, I would like to just, I think they're interesting talking points. So yeah,
cool.
Okay, well, I think unless there's anything else, we can move on.
Let's go.
Move on.
Okay, so next on the docket is something that just premiered a couple days ago as we record this, and that is The Last of Us Episode 1 on HBO.
That's right.
So, yeah. So, I have been a fan of this franchise since the first game. I played both games as they came out. And I think the games are pretty great, to be honest. So great that I wasn't really anticipating a show. I wasn't sure a show was necessary. And based on episode 1, I am optimistic that this could be something really good, because I thought episode 1 was was pretty great. That said, it does fall short of becoming more than what is in the games. As it stands now, it's just like a really good adaptation so far, with a little bit extra. But I don't think that, like, they're sticking very faithfully to the games, is I guess what I'm saying. They don't seem to have any greater ambition other than to fill in some gaps and maybe a few twists and turns and lore details for fans of the game. But they don't seem to be, so far, venturing beyond the scope of that. So I was a big fan, and I'm optimistic to see where it goes. But Justin, as someone who hasn't played the games, what were your thoughts?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done, like really well acted. I think above all, it was kind of like the thing that stuck out to me the most.
Yeah.
Not to say that anything else was bad or whatever. My thought was like curious about how much this departs from the game versus how much this is, sticking to it. And and I guess I'm just like, that's me being sort of empathetically concerned for fans or people who know the games really well. I'm like, maybe this will get boring or something when you know everything that's coming, because I don't know what's coming. I've literally no idea. So to me, I'm pretty hooked at this point, at least based off episode 1, but I was curious. So thank you for answering that question. Cause I'm like, I don't know, I guess I just feel like if I had seen this story before, maybe I wouldn't be, but that, again, I don't know where it's going. So like maybe I wouldn't be excited if I knew what was coming, but
sure.
Otherwise, I think it looks great. I think it's an interesting world, an interesting setup, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Yeah, once we hear what Chris's thoughts are, I can go into a little bit of details of, so far, based on episode 1, what is different.
Sure.
And it's both minor and also not at the same time, so it's kind of interesting. But anyway, Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm with you guys. This is a really well-directed episode. There's one set piece in particular at the very beginning, or not in the very beginning, but in like the prologue-ish, when everything's falling apart, that I really enjoyed. I thought that was really well done. I thought it was kind of a shame that, well, I won't say anymore. That was kind of a spoiler, but I really enjoyed Nico Parker.
Yeah,
is in the show, and I thought she was really great. She's like Thandie Newton's daughter, and that was a surprise.
Actually, it's from what I understand, is the proper pronunciation these days is Tandaway.
Tandaway?
Tandaway Newton.
Okay, that makes sense.
She actually, like, early in her career, had to drop like the last little like syllable of her name.
Yeah, and that makes sense. But I would like to pronounce it the right way.
Yeah, it's hard with that specific name. It's evolved so many times.
Sure.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought she was really great in this, and I quickly formed a bond with that character. And
yeah, she was great.
Yeah. I think my question is, after episode 1, is how is this different? Does that make sense? And not different from the game, but like just I don't know if Mike watched this, but the Station 11 from last year came out around this time, and I really enjoyed that. But this feels very similar to that. This film is, of course, very similar to like something like The Walking Dead. I think this is better, but how is this different from those tropes, from those typical stories? I think this is a very well done version of that story, but I guess what I'm looking for now, and it sucks that it comes at this point, but I want to see something a little bit different, just because, like, it's like I've eaten grilled cheese like 4 or 5 times in a row. I would like, let's try some jelly on the grilled cheese or something like that, Yeah. I'd like to see a little bit of differences, and maybe we'll get there.
I think
this is only the first episode.
I think we will. So I think what the showrunner, Craig Mazin, has said.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that's really great about that I'm excited about.
The guy who did Chernobyl. And the guy who did the video games are kind of teaming up to both do this show. So I think it'll be good. But to answer your question about what is done differently, I would say...
from the game.
That something Craig Mazin said, I think, kind of summed it up best, which is that in this series, you're going to see examples of unconditional love that certain characters have for one another, and how that may not always be a good thing. And so I think what you should go as an audience member into this is, don't think of this as another zombie show. That's just the setting. This is not interested in... This will be interested in character. And this will be interested in maybe what happens whenever human nature steps into what could otherwise be a straightforward survivor story. So I don't know. They kind of alluded to a lot of stuff in episode 1, which is like, you know, whenever you leave the quarantine zone, it's not only the infected you have to worry about.
Sure.
You know, there's a lot of worse things than like the infected. There's like slavers and like all kinds of scary stuff out there. And so definitely humans are going to be the more interesting element of this story. And I think that's what you need to focus on more than anything. Don't look for answers. Don't look for, it's really all about the character dynamics. And I can't really get much more into it than that. But based on the first episode, I think they kind of understand the games in a way that it may not be visible till the end of the season, but I think they're going to adapt the story in a way that it's going to be satisfying. And it's not going to feel like The Walking Dead or Dawn of the Dead again, or, Fear the Walking Dead or whatever, it will feel different, I think.
Yeah, I think that's my hope, and the vibe that I get is that I think it'll give me something more that's worth tuning into as someone who hasn't watched Walking Dead, or I guess I watched Station 11. What was the other zombie example you said? Fear the Walking Dead, I guess, which is the same thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, now I haven't seen Station 11, so I can't speak to that, but I hear it's great.
It is great, and it's not zombies either.
Yeah, it's just an apocalypse.
Yeah, it's an apocalyptic level thing.
Yeah.
I think that I think that for me, I'm just curious, like, how the show will deviate. Like, I'm thankful because like these games aren't really my thing, like Last of Us. At least I don't think they are.
Sure.
Sort of like I know it's not actually. I know it's deeper than that, and that's what makes the game so popular. But yeah, this is sort of like action sort of games.
I would say more survival horror, but
like Resident
action.
Evil, or I don't know.
Yeah,
if there's like first or third person shooting involved, I'm usually out. Usually.
Sure.
So I guess like I'm really thankful that these can give me the experience of the video game. So like I am hoping that that it does like make me feel like now I don't need to play the game, and I can avoid like the scary, suspenseful intensity of like a survival horror game.
Sure.
And give me like all that same experience and story. And so I guess for me, like, it doesn't really matter too much if it like makes itself like, why did we adapt this to a TV show? Like, why not just let it live as a game if it already is a game and that's where it's successful? Because I think there can be a temptation to like, why is this different? What do we get out of
what
making
did it bring
this
to
a
the
TV
table,
show?
etc.
Yeah. If it's just going to be a faithful remake, I mean, you could argue why, right? And I guess if I've heard any criticism, it's not even really criticism. It's just like, we're praising a show that's just recreating shot for shot scenes from a video game that have already been done before. And I kind of understand that, but for me, that's not a big deal necessarily because I haven't seen it.
It is and it isn't at the same time. They've added enough differences in there, and I think we've gone far enough in this conversation where I can kind of maybe speak to this. And if you don't want to know anything about the games, if you're about to play the games, then by all means, I recommend doing that. Stop listening now. This isn't really a spoiler, but kind of minor based on episode 1. You can skip ahead to our main event. But the intro to the show That was entirely a show invention.
Oh, the 1968 thing?
Yeah, the thing with Jonathan from The Mummy.
Yeah, and Big Head from
yeah.
Silicon
Yeah.
Valley.
Yeah, that whole thing was actually pretty interesting and actually adds more context to the games, because in the games, it's even less interested in what caused it and so on. And I think the show's going to answer actually what caused it, and I've actually kind of, based on the first episode, I can kind of predict what that's going to be. And I think they're going to answer that in season 1, but the games are even less interested in like what caused it. But yeah, that whole intro thing talking about the ants and the fungi and what happens if the fungi evolves and all that. Like, I think that's actually really interesting because as my girlfriend pointed out, that's actually something really interesting that's not in a lot of zombie things, which is that usually in a zombie thing, the person's dead and something is keeping their body going post-death. But this is actually the fungi keeps you alive and just pumps your brain full of hallucinogens to bend you to its will, which is...
Yeah, it's like you're always on LSD
yeah,
or something,
so it's
right?
like every person that they come across, that they kill, every infected person, isn't even a dead person. They're just a person
Still alive.
who's in there somewhere, which I think is actually really interesting and sad about the whole thing. But I think if you're paying attention to episode 1, they've given you plenty of clues as to what may be causing the outbreak. Do you guys have any predictions?
Like what started it?
Where how did the fungi infect everybody, seemingly people who weren't even bitten yet?
I mean, I'm guessing just because they talk about climate change.
Are we talking about like...
Well, like,
Go
for the
ahead.
example, in the first episode, the old lady who was in that house, she became infected somehow, but she wasn't bitten.
Right. She had just been to the city a bunch, they say, right?
Yeah, she was just living her
the
life.
hospital.
She couldn't even hear or do anything or move. So I think the show's going to answer how that happened. And it seems like you guys don't have any definite theories yet, so I don't want to say anything. But
I think I know where you're going, but I think I got the answer from somewhere else.
well then-
so it's not my own.
Oh. Well, shush.
yeah. But anyway, I think fungi is a fun alternative to just like a virus, a zombie virus,
Sure.
you know?
I think that idea is really cool.
Meh.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, cool. So it sounds like we're all on board, but we have a lot of show left. So what do you say we...
Real quick, Anna Torv. I love Anna Torv. She's really great. She was great in Fringe, great in Mindhunters.
Who is this?
Pacific. Anna Torv, she's the like Joel in the present timeline. Joel's like partner.
Tess.
Tess, yeah.
She's Tess.
That's Anna Torv. She was in Fringe and Mindhunters. I don't know if you guys saw that or not.
I saw Mindhunter.
Okay. Yeah. Anyways, I thought she was going to be a big star at one point, but she wasn't. I mean, she's always done this TV stuff. Maybe she was doing more like theater stuff, but she's great. So
Cool.
Noted.
glad to see her.
Yeah, thank you. Okay.
Yeah, anytime.
Now, are we ready to move into our most anticipated movies of 2023?
Yep.
Let's do it.
Think how good it's going to taste when it finally gets there. It's slow good.
It's keeping me waiting.
All right, so just a quick rundown how this is going to work. Each of us are going to give our 5 most anticipated films of 2023. We're not ranking these, it's not like the first one we name is the least anticipated. We're not doing anything like that. And we've kind of also curated it a little bit, so we each have 5 different films, and there's not going to be any overlap, so that, we get to talk about more films. So I think with nothing else needing to be set up, Chris, give us your first one.
Yeah, my first one is like, it's the one that's going to come out the soonest. I just want to get it out there. I am really looking forward to it. I think I'm always looking forward to a movie by M. Night Shyamalan, kind of out of curiosity more than anything else. The other thing that draws me to this movie is I've read the book. It's called by Paul Tremblay, and it's called A Cabin at the End of the World. But the movie is called Knock at the Cabin. The tagline is "Save your family or save humanity. Make the choice." I read this book and I really like the book a lot. And to say too much about the story, and I haven't really watched many trailers, is to kind of give stuff away. But what I will say is, Jonathan Groff is in this, the King of England himself, or George III. He was in Hamilton. He was also in Mindhunters with Anna Torv. So I like him a lot. Dave Bautista is in this. So it should be really interesting to see how this plays out. I love the setup of it. And also, Ron himself from Harry Potter is in this. Ron Weasley. So
Rupert Grint?
Yeah. Rupert Grint. And so, yeah, there's a lot of stuff that I really like about this. And it'll be really interesting to see what M. Night Shyamalan does with it. Oftentimes he makes he directs his own scripts, and this may be his own script, but he's adapting it from a book. So it'll be interesting to see what changes he makes and how he does it himself. There's a lot of people are upset because there's Paul Tremblay, who wrote the book, is nowhere in the credits at all. So people are really mad about that. But I'm kind of on their side because the book is amazing. If you guys get the opportunity, you should read the book.
Okay.
But
yeah.
What do you guys think?
I'm excited about this one. I thought it looked interesting. I did see the trailer for it, and I think if you don't want to know much, because to me it felt like the trailer gave away a lot. Although the premise of the movie, I guess, is so interesting that it feels like it feels like it's giving away a major plot point or something that would be better not known. But I guess it is also the concept of the movie.
Right.
But I don't know. It felt like I was like, man, I wish I hadn't seen that. But I also don't know how else you would really sell the story without saying some of the stuff I wish I hadn't seen.
I didn't know that when I read the book, and it was like, oh man. But we kind of talked about this last week. Sometimes it's good to know a little bit before you go into it. And I do think there's more twists down the road that make it interesting. So, yeah. Mike, how do you feel about this?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm always interested in a new M. Night Shyamalan movie. I think the problem, or not even the problem, because I don't know that it's a problem with this movie, but I think the thing with Old and Lady in the Water and a lot of his films is that the thing that's the best about the movie is also the worst, which is the script. All of his movies are really original and swing for the fences and have some great ideas, and I think he's really good at visual storytelling. But sometimes he's not good at dialogue or exposition. So I don't know. As with all of his movies, it's a big wait and see.
Yeah, absolutely. And a lot of my movies on this list are kind of more curiosities. I'm anticipating more because I don't know what it's gonna be. As opposed to, I think it's going to be a home run, but I think the ceiling's really high and the floor is really low as well. Sure. So,
yeah,
but yeah, I think it's going to be interesting.
Yeah, that's always better than Hunger Games 6 or whatever is coming out this year.
Hey, spoilers for my number 2 pick.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Cool.
The point is, original filmmaking of a franchise will always be good, despite a lot of my list being contrary to that.
Sure. So who's next?
Mike.
I'm next on the list, so I guess it's me.
All right.
Okay, so first on my list, which again in no order, but I don't know, I'm kind of ranking them in my brain a little bit. Dune Part 2.
Woohoo!
Yeah, Denis Villeneuve, Timothée Chalamet, Rebecca Ferguson, Zendaya, and whoever else is joining in Part 2.
Florence Pugh.
Yeah, but
Austin Butler.
Yeah, I really enjoyed Part 1. Denis Villeneuve hasn't really had a bad movie yet. He's had some movies I like more than others. But the guy's kind of coming off of like an unbelievable track record in movies. And
Sure.
yeah, so like hopefully this just keeps it going. Hopefully this comes out and it's a satisfying continuation of the story. But, who knows? But I'm hopeful.
Yeah, I think the bar's been set, and I don't have any reason to suspect that it will lower, that it will hit the same mark that part 1 did. And but not to say that like this wouldn't be on my most anticipated list or anything like that, but if like I didn't clamor for it to be on my list, I guess because we kind of know what to expect now. So it's not like, I remember when part 1 there was coming out, it was like, whoa, how is this going to be? It was this almost a complete unknown,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And now we have those expectations. So I guess that kills a little bit of anticipation for me, but I still am very excited for when this comes out.
Yeah, but I have a feeling, I don't know, I haven't read the Dune book, but I have a feeling like a heft of the story, like a majority of like the plot is still yet to come.
We're just now getting into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I'm curious to see, like, it could be a dramatic drop in quality, or it could
like
be great.
Like if the story
One of
is
the
just
things you kind
dumb.
Well, like, I don't think the story's dumb, but there's a reason it hasn't been adapted successfully to the screen so far. I'm sorry, David Lynch fans, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's a hard book to adapt. So it's like, can he make part 2 with all of the plot elements and like the actual core of the story and have it hit the same way, or have it not feel bogged down or strip it of its, I don't know.
Yeah.
So there's
Maybe
so many
I'm just
ways
too
it could go wrong.
Yeah. Maybe I'm just too optimistic that I'm like, oh, he nailed part 1 and he's going to do it again. I know it.
Sure.
It's probably going to be great.
Yeah. Hopefully.
I think like something like Copenhagen Cowboy, but like if this Dune 2 looks as good as Dune 1, because we kind of talked about franchise entertainment and stuff like this. Dune 1 looked so good and so different from anything that I had seen in a while in the theaters, that's worth it. That's worth the price of admission right there, even if the story, gets fumbled and dropped.
Sure.
Like I don't mind watching, the spectacular special effects and new ideas, like that, just the helicopter, what were those things, like the helicopter dragonfly things?
Yeah, little dragonfly
were so much
wings.
fun to watch. Yeah. So just watching the show or the movie should be an entertainment in itself.
Yeah. Helicopter with dragonfly wings was a Smashing Pumpkins song, right?
Probably.
Yes.
That's a joke for the Smashing Pumpkins fans out there.
Yeah, which I am not, so I don't even get the joke. Justin.
Bullet with butterfly wings. You don't know that song?
Oh,
You probably
okay.
knew this song if you heard it. Maybe just don't know the name.
I don't know the name.
Oh, well.
But Justin, what's your 5th most anticipated?
Okay, so I think my 5th is similar to Chris's. Well, I guess it's not 5th. It's not ranked, I guess, but whatever. It's similar to Chris's Knock at the Cabin, where it's a film that I think has a potentially very high ceiling, but also a very low ceiling. And the reason I think it has a high ceiling is because the director, he's done a lot of really interesting movies, a lot of movies I've really liked, a lot of movies I think all of us have really liked. The reason that it's low is because it's a live action Disney adaptation that have notoriously not gone over well. But if you haven't figured it out, I'm talking about Peter Pan and Wendy from David Lowery.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I don't know. I think he's just done some stuff with, I guess with every sort of like adaptation thing he's been doing, but Pete's Dragon, The Green Knight, all of that. I think he's just managed to distill these movies down to like their essence, their theme, what works about the story, and focused on that while just creating like really aesthetically beautiful movies to hang out in for an hour and a half.
Wasn't this on your list last year?
It might have been if it didn't come out. I know there were, maybe not last year, but the year before, the guy who did Beasts of the Southern Wild had a film coming out called Wendy, which was his own adaptation of Wendy and the Lost Boys.
Okay.
That was on my most anticipated list that year before that came out. But I don't think this one was, to be honest.
Okay.
That sounds
makes sense.
right.
That's where I got confused.
Yeah. But anyways, what do you guys think about this one? Is this on your radar at all?
I didn't know about it really until you started talking about it, but it sounds great. I mean, I loved The Green Knight. I thought The Green Knight was probably one of the best movies of that year.
Sure.
Pete's Dragon was really solid. The Old Man and the Gun. Basically, David Lowery hasn't really missed yet, although I have loved some of his movies more than others.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I've seen one I don't like. And I don't know that I've seen all of his movies, but I've seen most of them.
Yeah, same.
And I think he has a track record with Disney live action. I mean, if you want to call Pete's Dragon a live action remake, because Pete's Dragon's kind of already live action anyways. But I think he did a good job with that. It's not his best work, but it's maybe one of the best live action remakes, Disney remakes that there is. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, and it's David Lowery. I'm into it. Like I'll go watch it. Even if it's, it's his one for them. And then he gets to make his Copenhagen Cowboy.
Sure.
Yeah, I think the difference with this and Pete's Dragon is Pete's Dragon was still in the theatrical release days, and I believe this one is a streaming release, which
is it straight to Disney? That's a bummer.
I believe so. Yeah, so that's like a bummer about it. And
I wonder if that says anything about their expectations for the reception.
It kind of does, but
yeah,
are you sure that it's a straight to streaming?
I'm not 100% sure, but I think on the little poster here on IMDb, it says streaming 2023 only on Disney Plus.
Certainly sounds like it.
Yeah, so those, since they've been doing that, have been, I think, even worse than the theatrical release ones.
Well, look at it this way. Maybe it's just because there have been no shortage of Peter Pan movies released in theaters over the years. So
yeah, and maybe David Lowery's
just
made
an uphill battle. It's like like releasing Pinocchio in theaters. It's like there's been 1 million Pinocchios. What's the point?
Yeah, I'm much more interested, even if it's bad, to watch this on streaming because it's David Lowery, than something like Pinocchio from.
God, I watched Pinocchio this year and it was horrible. The Disney version, not the Guillermo del Toro one, which I have not seen.
Yeah,
and I have, and it's good. So go watch it.
For real though, the Disney one, horrible.
Yeah. Well, hopefully this doesn't go that way. We shall see. Do you guys have anything else to add?
No, other than just David Lowery. I'm there. I hope it has a lot of heart.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
All right, Chris, you're up.
All right. So my next one is also, it's kind of more of a what the fuck. And it's definitely a curiosity. So it's Meg 2, The Trench.
What?
I actually liked Meg, the first one, as far as like giant shark movies go, right? It was fun. Jason Statham in it, and it was weird and wacky, and it's what you expect. You go to the movie theater, it's a matinee movie, right? It's a B movie type of thing. It's kind of silly, but I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. But this is Meg 2, and the thing is, the director of this is Ben Wheatley, who is hit or miss on his own. I watched a couple of his movies last year during February because I did folk horror February. So on Shudder, they had like a whole bunch of folk horror movies. And he actually has 2 folk horror movies. One is called Kill List and one is called A Field in England. Both very, very different. And like Field in England is like kind of super artsy. It's a lot of black and white. And then he also did a movie I really liked called Free Fire that I really enjoyed. But I'm just kind of like, when you say Meg 2 and you say Ben Wheatley, it's like those two things don't go together, And so I'm really interested in seeing what happens. He also just recently did Rebecca, which I haven't seen, but it was a remake of the Alfred Hitchcock movie. So, and also with Armie Hammer.
Yeah, unfortunately timed.
Yeah. It was, and Rebecca was pretty poorly received, but I am interested in seeing this movie and seeing what happens. What do you guys think?
I never saw the first Meg, so I don't know that I have much opinion about this one. But
Time to catch up.
yeah, I hope that good things are said because it'll give me a reason to go back and watch the Meg, which I'm sorely lacking in reason to do that right now. But yeah,
I just said it was
really
good.
Again, I don't know if I have enough reason.
Don't
just
say
kidding.
It, don't say it.
Yeah, if we decide we're gonna do Meg 2 on the podcast, that'll be enough reason as well. But yeah, I don't know. I hope that it's good because as I hope most things are good. Mike,
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I saw the Meg. I don't really remember it.
Sure.
I saw it though. What I do remember about it was that it felt a little safe. I don't know. Like it felt a little like afraid to commit to like the B movie gore. Because if I remember correctly, it was like PG-13. So I don't know if that's a real complaint. But in Meg 2, I would like to see more, I don't know, blood in the water, so to speak.
Yeah, and that's certainly possible with Ben Wheatley, but that's kind of all those questions are why it's one of my most anticipated movies. Like, what does Ben Wheatley do with this, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's a fun enough premise, you know, a megalodon. Sure, you know, it's like I like a monster movie just as much as the next guy. Hope it's good.
What does Meg 2 have to say? That what more are we getting from Meg 2 socially and commentarily?
What are the social responsibilities of a film like Meg 2?
Yeah.
I just kind of hope that we get the Meg, and it's just this giant shark giving a TED talk about social responsibility.
I hope it's just a woman
in the
named
trench.
Meg.
Yeah,
giving a TED talk.
From Family Guy, isn't that the daughter's name?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, all right, Mike. What is your next one?
All right, so my next one is a film that has been a long time coming, and I'm both nervous and optimistic at the same time, and that is Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh boy.
Yeah. So this is
one
a film that Steven Spielberg did not direct because he was directing The Fabelmans this year. So James Mangold stepped in. This is the first Indiana Jones film directed by James Mangold. And that's what gives me hope. James Mangold has made a lot of really fun blockbuster movies over the years, and even some non-blockbuster movies. But he did Copland, which I think is like really underrated and super good. He did Logan, which is maybe the easily the best X-Men film. If we had to break it down. Night and Day, a few other movies over the years. He seems
Girl
to
Interrupted.
kind of... Yeah.
3:10 to Yuma.
Yep. So he's really good at like crowd-pleasing movies, He's kind of a good blend between like a big mainstream movie that can connect with an audience and also kind of have a heart to it as well.
Yeah, because I'll tell you, as a person who doesn't like cars, I quite enjoyed Ford versus Ferrari.
Yeah,
and I did
Ford
not
versus
care
Ferrari
at
is a good
all.
movie.
Yeah. So he's good.
So yeah, he may be the best case scenario because, to be honest, I was kind of disappointed when Steven Spielberg didn't want to return.
Sure.
But look at the phase of his career he's in right now. He's beyond this. He doesn't want to do action movies with Nazis. He's in his musicals phase. He's in his autobiographical phase. You know what I mean? He's doing something else.
Yeah. I also think there's no reason, there's no upside for him to do it.
Yeah.
If Steven Spielberg directs this, if it's not 100% amazing, it's a failure. If James Mangold does it and it's okay and it's good, then it's fine.
Yep.
Like everybody will go see it. But like Steven Spielberg, the expectations if he directs it are so high that there's no reason for him to direct it because he's never going to meet those expectations, right?
Yeah, Steven Spielberg's never going to make another Raiders of the Lost Ark or Last Crusade. Like, I don't think he's got that in him anymore. And he doesn't need to prove it to anybody. He's making great movies and stuff like West Side Story,
Oh, yeah.
Like, he doesn't need this. And like, he's like excited about a Bullet sequel coming out. He wants to do another Bullet movie, which is cool.
Yeah.
So, let him do that and let James Mangold do this. So here's the thing. I think it looks good. I'm cautiously optimistic. I don't hate the fourth Indiana Jones movie as much as everyone else does. I think Indiana Jones movies have always been kind of a mixed bag of corny and great,
Yeah.
So I don't know. I don't expect it to be as good as Raiders or Last Crusade, but as long as it's better than, maybe Temple of Doom or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, I'll be happy. And even if it's the same, as long as it's not worse, I don't know. I'm pretty easy to please when it comes to Indiana Jones movies, to be honest.
Yeah. I guess with some exceptions, I kind of feel like we've entered a phase of like reboot sequel things where they're taking care with like the material, I guess, and aware enough of like what not to do and how not to like ruin these things, or to make things that are crowd pleasing and not just like, I don't know. There's been so many misses in the past, but I just feel like they've missed so much. They've kind of figured out how to do them and make them not terrible and at least be like passable entries.
Yeah. In my opinion, as long as this is better than, like, I don't know, like a lot of people like this movie, but like Ghostbusters Afterlife, like I hope it doesn't do that where it's just like,
I never saw that.
That just seems so soulless and I don't know. But this could be the same thing. Who knows? It's the fifth entry in a franchise. But what did give me hope was that James Mangold was saying that he wants to make a movie that like is kind of about Indy's age. Like there's no way to hide that Harrison Ford's an 80-year-old man.
Right.
Yeah.
And like that kind of gave me a little bit of faith that like maybe he'll do the Logan approach to this. Where it's like there will be the occasional flashback to maybe like a young Indy de-aged, so we'll still get him punching Nazis and jumping off of stuff. But I kind of want this to be grounded in the fact that this is probably the last time Harrison Ford's going to be able to do this. And I kind of want that heart and those stakes to be present on screen.
I want a good goodbye, too.
There you go.
Yeah. I think...
Also, Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Bridges?
Bridge.
Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
Phoebe Bridger is the singer.
Yeah. The musician, singer lady.
Yeah. But I'm excited to see her in something.
I think there's going to be that baggage, kind of the same baggage we had watching Force Awakens or Last Jedi. If it's his last one, which it most likely is, So I think, unless we hear otherwise down the road, like I think everyone's going in assuming that. So we'll have that baggage of like getting emotional towards the end of the movie, whatever happens, whatever is happening, knowing that this might be our last ride with Harrison Ford. And I think the trailer also, I think it just looks fun. I saw the trailer the other day, I think ahead of Babylon or something, or maybe The Whale, maybe both for the first time. And I think it looks like a good time.
Yeah, it seems fun. So we'll see. Knock on wood. Dial of Destiny, Indiana Jones, and the...
Yeah.
All right.
Thank you
Justin.
for saying all the words.
Yeah.
in
the wrong order.
In whatever order. Yeah.
Yeah. Justin, what's your next most anticipated?
All right. So my next one is a film that I guess you guys won't be surprised to know that I'm excited about because it is somewhat about soccer.
Yes.
And it's called Next Goal Wins, and it's going to be from Taika Waititi, and I don't think he's in the movie that I can see, at least not a key role, but it's going to be starring Michael Fassbender. It's got Will Arnett, Elizabeth Moss, Rhys Darby, and it's going to be it's going to be a story of the American Samoa soccer team, and I believe it kind of takes place in their attempt to qualify for the World Cup. I think Michael Fassbender is going to be playing the coach, but they infamously lost a match 31-0, and I think it's one of the worst defeats of all time. So we're known for being terrible in this time period. But I think there's actually maybe a documentary about the same thing. I could be wrong, or it's just another documentary of the same title. So I don't know how much this is based on that, if they are the same, or if this is just like completely original, but I expect this to be, I don't know, funny and probably heartwarming, I'm guessing. And I don't know, it's about soccer, so all of those things I'm here for.
Yeah, awesome. See, this is a movie that has been like mentioned and talked about for a while now. I haven't seen Michael Fassbender do anything in a long time, it seems like. Like, I'm sure he's doing stuff, but I haven't seen it. So it'll be nice to see Michael Fassbender again.
He's been driving F1 race cars, is why we haven't seen him.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. He's like trying to, and I forget who he's married to. He's married to
Alicia Vikander.
Someone. Yeah, and they had a kid. So like he's kind of doing the family thing. So yeah.
Okay. Well, good for him.
Yeah.
I'm happy
Indeed.
for him.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have much else to say about this other than, yeah, hopefully it's good. I hope it's more in the line of Jojo Rabbit as far as like,
Sure.
It can balance serious and comedic at the same time.
Yeah. I was not a big fan of his recent Thor film, which I was a big fan of the first Thor film that he did. So it was kind of a disappointment for me. But I'm eager to see what he does next.
Yeah. I can't imagine it gets as, emotional or serious as Jojo Rabbit. But
Sure.
I think it could have some of the same charm for sure.
Yeah, I guess as long as it's not as silly as his Marvel entries, that's kind of what I mean.
Yeah.
Like a little bit more like dramatic stakes involved.
Yeah. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
So I guess back to Chris.
Yeah, I think so. So my next film, I kind of just did an audible because I remembered something, so I switched it up in the middle. But it is one that may not come out this year, or maybe ever, but it has Joaquin Phoenix in it, and it is directed by Ridley Scott, and it's Napoleon. I like the idea of this film, if not because, like, wasn't this like, didn't Stanley Kubrick want to make a Napoleon film and he could just never get it done?
Right,
And I feel like a lot of people have tried to do a Napoleon film and, just couldn't get it done. So I'm really interested. Ridley Scott's like 80-something years old now, and he's just cranking them out. Like a couple years ago, he had like 2 movies in the theaters at the same time, or
House
in
of
the same year,
Gucci
at
and
least.
then Last Duel.
Yeah, Last Duel. So, I'm just really interested. This is another like high ceiling. Like I like the director, I like the actor, and I don't know. Let's see what happens. It's kind of a good mix. What do you guys think?
I think Ridley Scott is capable of having a great movie or a completely forgettable one.
Sure.
That's the thing about Ridley Scott is like sometimes when he's on fire, he's great. And if we're being honest, he's probably one of the best living directors out there right now.
Sure. Yeah.
Sometimes I don't think he picks the best scripts, but very rarely am I ever like, this is a badly directed movie,
Yeah. They're at least interesting, right?
And I thought Last Duel was actually exceptional. So he's kind of coming off a high for me right now.
Nice. I think I'm only on board if this is a shot-for-shot remake of the Abel Gance 1927 333-minute long Napoleon film. I want an epic or I'm out.
Yeah. Well, it's 150 minutes according to Letterboxd.
That's
That
less
sounds
than
pretty
half.
epic.
Yeah, if they fast forward, maybe they're doing a shot for shot, but they fast forward through half of it.
Maybe so. It's about half. Going to be about half as good as that one, I guess. I've never seen that one, to be honest. I'm not sure many people have.
Yeah. It's an interesting film. There's not a lot to say about it. There's not really. But yeah.
Yeah. Cool.
All right, Mike. What's your next one?
All right, my next one is the 7th, I think, entry into the franchise now. And that is Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1.
Ugh.
I know. What a title. Here's the thing. I don't know anything about this movie. I don't know what it's about. The trailer is pretty vague. I don't really know any plot points, but that doesn't really matter. I've never disliked a Mission Impossible movie yet.
It's another one where the plot doesn't really matter.
No.
I mean, it does, but like the stunts are why you're going to the
Sure.
movie, right?
Yeah, as long as the plot's not actively bad.
Sure.
then
It doesn't distract from the stunts.
then I think we all know what we're getting here.
Yeah, I think this is one I really want to try to avoid, like the trailer and the spoilery things of like what the big stunt's going to be. Because I think it's been a while.
Which is hard because that's how they market these.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just going to like seclusion. When does it come out?
I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
Maybe I'll just not go anywhere.
fall.
Like October, November, something like that.
Yeah. Because they're still shooting it. They like kind of release clips of them shooting it.
Yeah, well, they're shooting
I was
two
trying
of
to
them
figure
at
out.
once.
Oh, that's true.
I was trying to figure out if I could like hibernate or something, or just like kind of go off the
Probably
grid
not.
for that long, but I don't think so.
Well, June, you're going to hibernate with soccer, so
Just
that's
keep,
a good month.
keep it rolling.
Maybe if it comes out in July,
Yeah.
you're in luck.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I am excited. I do like all the Mission Impossible movies. I think they're fun. They're one of those that gets me out to the theater, gets my wife out to the theater with me, makes for a great date night. Super fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
I
seems
love
to be
it.
just like kind of an infectious good time vibes in the air of just people celebrating the stunts. You know, like it's fun. It's fun to see people put themselves in danger for our entertainment. Yeah.
I have a question. Do you know if Tom Cruise runs like really fast in it?
Probably.
Because if so, I'm in.
Yeah.
I'm in. Yeah.
I
Just
think that's a
watching
safe
I could. Yeah, I could watch an hour and a half of him just like really intently running with his hands out and just. It's amazing.
Yeah. He'll run better than any of us will. And he's older.
Much.
than we are.
Well, maybe not.
I'm
much,
assuming he's going to be hanging from something quite high in the air or something at this on
Yep.
this one.
Probably.
and falling,
Yeah, falling, hanging, climbing,
running, driving,
punching.
Things you might think were impossible.
Yeah, driving and then falling.
both at the same
Yeah.
time, maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, anyway, that's my Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. Justin, what is your next most anticipated film?
All right, so my next one is a sequel movie, and I don't know that it's the movie itself that I'm excited about, but it's more that the original entry into this franchise surprised me so much with how much I enjoyed it. And, you know, I don't even know if the first movie's great. I was just like kind of shocked by like, okay, this is actually surprisingly good and charming and funny. And, you know, some things catch you by surprise and they end up seeming better than they are. So I don't know. But anyways, Shazam! Fury of the Gods. I've been looking forward to the next one just because the first one was such a good time. It's one of the only superhero movies in recent memory that I can think of that I watched a second time because I enjoyed it so much. I just found the kids to be fun and charming, and the humor to be pretty well done. It made me laugh more than I thought I was going to. So yeah, I don't know. I think it's fun to have a good DC movie too, and I hope that this kind of it gives us another good DC entry because I don't know that we have very many. I haven't counted, but I feel like Shazam might be the only one for me.
Yeah, I think with the DC movies, it's kind of an interesting thing because I don't know how this is going to fit into the new plan that James Gunn's going to be unveiling soon. So,
which
like,
we should be hearing more about.
Yeah, so Shazam may be incorporated into whatever's coming next for DC, or this could be like the last entry. But either way, yeah, I think I'm with you in that the first Shazam was definitely one of the more enjoyable DC movies.
Agreed.
I think with this one, if I hadn't seen the trailer, I would be more excited about it. I really don't like the trailer for Shazam 2. It's really annoying. But I don't know that that's reflective of how the movie's going to be, or that's just a bad trailer, you know?
Sure. Or I'm excited about this. I don't think I liked Shazam 1 as much as you guys did, but I think you guys are right. It was charming. You know, like it was pretty good. And I'm interested in seeing what happens in the second one. I think the bigger question that I'm interested in here or I'm anticipating, I guess I should say, is what happens with the DC universe as we move forward. You know, we also have like that Flash movie that's coming out, which almost made my list just because like what the hell's happening, you know? Like especially with Flash, you know, there's all sorts of crazy stuff around that. I almost think it might be good, and that's why they haven't canceled it yet. So yeah, anyways, I hope this one's good.
Yeah.
I don't have much to say, about it other than if it can stay on par. Yeah, if it can stay on par, I'll be happy. I don't necessarily expect it to improve and be better or anything like that.
It could really use a The Rock cameo as Black Adam, I think, to make it better.
Could it?
Yeah, definitely. Don't you think so?
Didn't he refuse to be in that one?
I don't know.
Right? That's the deal?
I don't know. Who knows what's going on with that whole situation?
Is the movie too silly for him? I don't know. I haven't seen Black Adam. I don't know.
He's like, I will not be the butt of any jokes.
Yeah, The Rock has too much ego or when it comes to movies or how much he has to be in them. Anyways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not in this movie, I'm assuming. So
yeah.
We'll move on. Back to Chris, right? Yeah, Chris.
Yeah. All right. So my fourth movie is one that we watched the first one of. This is a sequel, which a lot of our movies are sequels, but
that's the industry these days.
And we also get those release dates way ahead of time. You know, like if we maybe knew some of the smaller movies, we'd be more interested in those. Right. Anyways, this one's called Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
I think that the first one, I think we all really like the first one quite a bit. I don't know if it was all in all of our top 10s, but it might have been close, at least two of us for sure. Anyways, I think the first one was so great. I saw the trailer for the second one, which doesn't actually show a lot of footage for the new one. I like the idea that they're doing two movies kind of at the same time. So we're going to get another one after this, which I like that idea. I like, you know, the continuing story of it. I think the animation, once again, you know, I would watch it just for the animation, you know, like because it's so new and different, and or at least it was when the first one came out. I'm interested in seeing what they do with this one. Where are you guys at on this one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm right there with you. I think Into the Spider-Verse was so much better than it had any right to be, basically.
Sure.
And had so much heart to it that, as long as, you know, that heart carries over to the sequel, then I'm down for whatever they do, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. This one doesn't have the element of surprise on me because now I have those expectations. As Mike said, the first was better than it had any right to be, or better than it needed to be, I guess. But I had such low expectations. I was walking into the theater not excited about what I was about to watch for the first one. I was kind of dreading it. And I don't often do that, but for whatever reason, that one just, even having seen the trailer, I was just not excited about it or interested. And it's my favorite Spider-Man movie. I think it's the best Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, probably.
Period, in my opinion.
I don't know about that.
I know. I think we debated that a lot on that episode when we reviewed it. But for me, it's still my favorite. So I'm very, very excited about this one. But I guess in some ways it does have some expectations to meet, which I think it very well could. I don't have any reason to believe it won't.
Yeah, I think the bar is a little bit higher. It's kind of the Steven Spielberg thing again, you know? Like, if it's mediocre, it's kind of a failure, you know?
Yeah.
Whereas, like, the first one was such a surprise. So the bar for this one, you kind of have to be better than mediocre. You have to be good or great. You know, you less of a chance to miss on this one.
Mm-hmm.
But they're pot committed because they're like, we're going to do a second one. They're already making that one. So if this one fails, you know, like they got another one coming out. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. And I'm looking forward to see if they do any, further advancement with like the animation or pushing the boundaries and and whatnot with the animation again, like they did with the first one. See what new things they bring to the table.
Seems like that would be hard to do, but hopefully they can.
It does. But I mean, that's not really like what I'm well versed in like animation, so I guess like I wouldn't have been able to think that they could have done what they did with the first one.
Right.
So I guess just because I can't think of what they could do, or it doesn't seem possible. Who knows?
It's not your job to think of that. It's theirs.
That's right. Just my job to be surprised and talk about it on a podcast, and it's not my job because nobody pays me.
Yeah.
It's your hobby.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Well, Mike, we're back to you.
Yes, we are.
Or no, Justin.
Nope.
Nope,
Mike.
it's me.
No. Okay.
All right, so my next film is a film by Christopher Nolan called Oppenheimer, which is obviously about the real-life scientist J. Robert Oppenheimer and the role of his development of the atomic bomb. So this is a film that could be either really, really great or it could be really meandering. I don't know. So that's the thing about Christopher Nolan that I'm kind of always split between. It's like half the time I think he makes exceptional movies, and then half the time I feel like he's trying to make exceptional movies and then makes okay ones. Or
he gets too in love with his ideas or the gimmick of the movie.
Yeah, but this seems like more toned down, like a more straightforward story. I can't imagine him reversing time and making any kind of crazy twists in this biopic.
Oh, I bet you there's a time mechanic.
Yeah, maybe so. Who knows? It'll probably jump around non-chronologically or something. Who knows?
I guess
I have nothing to base that on, but it's Christopher Nolan. I think that there's got to be some narrative device in which he's telling this movie that's out of order or something like that.
I mean, you're probably right. But
yeah,
it seems like there's more room for him to hit a home run with this than something like Tenet.
Sure.
In my opinion. I don't know. I really liked Dunkirk. Didn't like Tenet, I didn't like Interstellar so much, but I liked Inception.
Sure.
So it's like it kind of goes back and forth with me and Christopher Nolan. So that's kind of where I'm at. The cast seems great, but where are you guys resting on Oppenheimer right now?
I think just with how much I liked Dunkirk, when he takes something that I assume will be grounded in reality and not sci-fi of any sort. He knocked that out of the park for me.
Sure. Yeah.
I guess any other films he's done that have been that sort of grounded, not sci-fi, I don't think I've seen. Following, I guess I have.
Insomnia is kind of grounded.
Insomnia.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah. Huh. Insomnia is his most un-Christopher Nolan film, though.
It's good,
yeah.
though.
Anyways, yeah, it's good.
Yeah, but I think just coming off of Dunkirk, knowing what he does with historical stories and what he pulls out of them and the way that he chooses to film them and make them interesting. I mean, I think I'm much more excited about this than I would be if he was coming out with, the next crazy idea like Tenet or Inception. If it was another thing like that, I'm more excited about this.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. This is pretty, it's what's going to happen. Is this going to be good or is this going to be a crazy idea? I think the thing that was missing from Tenet for me and maybe some of his misses is characters, because he gets kind of gets too involved with the gimmick of the idea of the show. So Tenet, man, there are some really great set pieces. It's just I don't care what happens to any of the people in it because there's no characters.
Tenet is a
they're
movie,
really great.
Yeah. Tenet is a movie that I look back on and I'm sad that I don't like it as much as I want to, because I know it was made with love and care, and there's a lot to unpack if you really go back and rewatch it. But I don't want to.
Yeah.
And I want to. I'm always rooting parts of it to like Christopher Nolan, but I just don't always,
Yeah. I would watch that highway sequence again and again, but I don't necessarily want to watch the whole thing again. But I think with this, we have the characters already, right? Mm-hmm. They're real people, so maybe we get a more character-based thing. Like I said, I think we're going to get some sort of narrative device in there as well.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. And hopefully he doesn't blow up the world in the process of making this film.
Seems like we're safe. It seems like he's already wrapped it, so I think we all made it
has
through.
he? Okay.
Yeah.
Whew, that was a close one.
Until his next movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, there's mine. Oppenheimer. Justin, what is your fourth most anticipated film?
All right. So mine is the last film from a director, what will be the last film from a director, at least as far as we know. And this is an animated film from a famous animation director. That is, of course, Hayao Miyazaki. His film How Do You Live?
Nice.
Which I don't know that I've seen much about what this film is about. Just some like sort of sketchy looking animation that I don't know if that's what the film's going to look like, or if it's going to, that those are just sort of storyboard type stuff that they're using to promote the film. But it says the film depicts the psychological growth of a teenage boy through interactions with his friends and uncle. So, and maybe this will be a bit more grounded and a little bit less fantasy like his other ones. Maybe there will be fantasy, which I'm welcome to. But this being his last film, I mean, I don't think it's possible for me not to have this on my list. What do you guys think?
Yeah, definitely.
Sure. I like that. Sorry. I like that this came after the Christopher Nolan talk, because I really think Christopher Nolan could take a page out of Miyazaki's book, because Miyazaki always has this like fantasy element, this weird thing that's happening in his movies, but it never overshadows the characters, right? It's always kind of done in the right way, as opposed to sometimes the ideas or the gimmick takes a front seat in Christopher Nolan's shows. But I'm really anticipating this. All of Miyazaki's films are pretty great.
Yeah.
Like, they're good to great. There's no mediocre or bad, I don't think, that I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen them
Miyazaki's
all.
never let me down.
Yeah, everyone I've seen I've enjoyed quite a bit. I would just say they're all at least like slightly above good for me.
Sure.
To great. And yeah, I hope this is no different, but I'm just such a big fan. I think this will be bittersweet. But I'm hopefully great.
Yeah, I don't have much else to add other than just, I mean, as long as
There's not much
Miyazaki's
known.
making movies, I'll be there.
Yep, but this might be it, so
Yeah.
this will be your last time to be there.
Although we've heard that before.
Have we? From him? Or from other people?
Yeah,
I feel like there's been rumors of his retirement for a while, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Kind of like Soderbergh retired years ago. He still has an output of like 1 to 2 movies a year.
Yeah.
Which Magic Mike is coming out. It's not on my list, but I am anticipating
Last
it.
Dance.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. Anything else on this?
No.
Okay.
I'm
Solid
excited.
pick.
Chris, what's your last one?
Whew. My last one is I associate kind of this podcast with really kind of 2 directors. One of them is Corey Finley, who did what was the name of it was like something about horses.
Thoroughbreds.
What's her name in it? Huh?
Thoroughbreds,
yes. Because I felt like we kind of discovered that all together, and there's like kind of a joy to that movie where like one of us saw it and then kind of spread it around, and we all really liked it, I thought. Anyway, so I kind of associate Corey Finley with this podcast, and he has a new movie coming out called Landscape with Invisible Hand, which I really don't have any idea. I haven't seen a trailer. I did read the synopsis on Letterboxd, which is quite long. I guess suffice it to say it has something to do with aliens and an apocalypse. I don't really know much more than that, but I am in for just about anything Corey Finley does. And I'm also going to sneak in a second one. The other director I really associate this podcast with is Ari Aster, because I feel it was like the first year Hereditary came out. Anyways, Beau is Afraid is coming out also with Joaquin Phoenix. So I'm really excited about both those movies. I don't know. I feel like as the podcast has gone on, we've got to talk about these directors and watch them grow. So that's been really fun. So is there anything you guys have to say about either one of these movies since I cheated and snuck one in?
I have not seen anything about Landscape with Invisible Hand, but I did see the trailer for Beau is Afraid, and it looks trippy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm interested, but it's hard to, based on the trailer, it's hard to wrap your brain around what the movie even really is.
Yeah, agreed.
But I like that combo
think-
of Joaquin Phoenix and Ari Aster. That seems like a very passionate duo.
Sure.
Yeah. It's just kind of, I haven't seen the trailer myself, but it's just like sort of a vibes trailer, just kind of showing you the tone of what it's going to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
It kind of
so.
reminds me of like a Charlie Kaufman movie. I
Yeah,
think.
it looks like a Charlie Kaufman movie.
That's what it looked like based on the poster and maybe an image or two that I saw. Was it reminded me of like a live action Anomalisa
Yeah.
or something in that
Yeah.
vein?
Yeah, who knows?
Yeah, it's hard to know.
I do think this may be Ari Aster's blank check movie. I know we've kind of talked about that a lot, but I think this is the movie he's always wanted to make. Like I've kind of heard and read things kind of about this. I know that there's like even on Letterboxd, there's not a length of time for the movie yet, and that's weird because like Napoleon had an hour or 150 minutes, and we don't even know when that's coming out. So I know that Ari Aster has really been arguing and fighting about making this movie longer. So it'll be really interesting to see what happens with this movie. So I know there's like some sort of like 3-hour, 4-hour cut, something that he wants. So
Interesting.
Wow. I guess that makes me more excited to see if he gets his way. I'm more excited,
Yeah.
Not that
It's like
we'll
a
know that.
self-indulgent mess.
Yeah. I mean, I love that sort
like
of
a
thing.
Babylon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I do think we're going to get, I think what'll happen is it's kind of like Midsummer. So, like we got a release, like a theatrical release that was a little bit shorter. And then we got like a director's cut.
Which, by the way, the
That
director's
was-
cut of Midsummer is good.
Yeah. I haven't seen it. I need to check it out.
Same.
It's good.
Cool. All right, Cheater, with your 6 films.
Yeah.
That's right.
Is that it on those?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Anything
Yes,
else you want to
yes,
try to
sir.
sneak in at the last minute?
Yeah, 7th and 8th maybe.
Yeah.
While you're here.
I also want to sneak in Super Mario Brothers.
right,
I'm
we're
really
done.
excited
Stop
about.
talking.
Okay, Chris Pratt.
Although I am going to see Super Mario Brothers, and I hope it's good.
Yeah.
Okay, Mike. Is that your last
No.
one, Super Mario Brothers? Okay.
You put that into this conversation. I take no responsibility for that. My 5th movie is, I think, a film that was on my list last year, but it's still not here, and I'm still anticipating it. And that is Killers of the Flower Moon, directed by Martin Scorsese, starring Leonardo DiCaprio and Robert De Niro, the two great
Sure.
Scorsese protagonists.
Yes.
Finally teaming
I
up.
know. All three together to make one. That's like the Avengers.
Yeah. It's like
but
Pacino and De Niro were for a while, but now I guess it's DiCaprio and De Niro.
that's
The
right.
different generations, yeah.
But anyways, this is a film about the murders of Native American tribes that spawned the birth of the FBI. And that's all I really know about it. But the pedigree involved in this, and it being one of those probably last films where Martin Scorsese is going to get handed $200 million or more by
Yeah.
a streaming service to put out something he wants to do. And by God, I hope it's good. It's a Western kind of, maybe, I don't know, in a sense. But anyway, yeah, I'm there. Just De Niro.
Shot in Oklahoma.
What?
It's shot in Oklahoma, too.
Yeah.
Most of it.
Yeah, and I don't really know much else about it, but it's still in the works, and I hope it's good. What do you guys think about
I've
this?
actually read like the first part of this book, and it's really interesting because it's I won't say any more about it, but like I've enjoyed what I've read about from the book, and I'm interested in seeing how it gets adapted. I believe the Native American tribe like owns a bunch of oil, so
Right.
So that's also part of it, and or like there's a bunch of oil on their
reservation,
land. The reservation. So, like it's probably the old story of America.
Yep.
You know where it's going.
Yeah. It's Scorsese, so I'm excited. I'll be there. And yeah, we've been waiting for this one for a while. I actually couldn't remember which of us had it on our most anticipated list, but it does make sense that it was you, Mike. But I remember it being on last year and us being really excited. And there was a certain point this year where I think around November, I kept waiting for it to come out because like, oh yeah, that was on our list and it's coming out this year. And I don't think I ever realized that it was for sure not coming out. So towards the end of the year, I was looking out for that release date. I was like, any minute now, I'm gonna hear about it coming out soon, or start hearing people say they've seen it. Yeah,
it probably won't come out till November, December this year.
Yeah, even though it may be done by like next month or the month after, like they're gonna save it for award season.
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah. But anyways, Killers of the Flower Moon, Scorsese. I don't know how many more great movies this guy's got left, but dude just keeps putting out bangers.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right, Justin.
Was his last movie Irishman?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that was good.
It was good.
Hot take.
Yeah. Great third act.
Yeah.
That was the last
great first
year
act
for movies.
and second act, in my opinion, too.
That's true. Yeah. It's just a good movie the whole way through. All right, Justin, what's your fifth most anticipated film?
All right. So this one is just like a surprise, I guess, that it's on my list. Like if I knew nothing else about this film other than the concept, I wouldn't have much expectation about it. But the reason that it's on here is because of the director and then the writer-director combo. But that's Greta Gerwig's Barbie.
Nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like
what a trailer. Have you seen the trailer for this?
Like the teaser trailer.
Yeah.
It's so good. I love it. Have you seen it, Mike?
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the 2001 reference and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really fun. But I guess I don't really have any reason to be excited about, like, I don't care about Barbie one way or the other. Yeah. It's a curious excitement, but I think it's just that, like, so far Greta Gerwig has done 2 other films, and both of those films were my favorite film of the year in their respective year. So, you've earned some street cred.
Plus, the screenplay is by Gerwig and Noah Baumbach.
Yeah, exactly.
I kind of hope this is her white noise / Babylon. It's just like a self-indulgent mess.
Well, that's the thing.
And
That's the thing
great
about this movie, right? Is like, what is it?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
What is it? Like, I don't know. I don't understand. Is it a commentary on capitalism? Is it a legitimate story about a woman named Barbie living in like this weird fantasy world? I don't know. I don't know what to expect from this movie. Is it meta?
The tagline is, a doll living in Barbie land is expelled for not being perfect enough and sets off on an adventure in the real world.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is like about that image that Barbie gave young girls of like what a perfect person should be, or if you don't look like this, like, but it's weird that Barbie is down to be associated with it, although they've come a long way in terms of releasing like plus size Barbies and
I think there's no way for them to continue unless they kind of get that out of the way, which is like, yes, the traditional Barbie is an image that is unobtainable, like physically,
except for through plastic surgery.
No, not even then.
And even
like,
then, it's
you
weird.
have to be like 7 feet tall to have like those proportions make sense. You know what I mean?
Well, there's people I think out there that have like had the plastic surgery to look like Barbie, and they look terrible.
Right.
They look scary.
They look plastic, which is what Barbie looks like. So it's weird.
Well, she is plastic, so that's not her fault.
Yeah.
Let's not throw stones in glass houses or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyways,
you're right.
I do wonder if the 2001 is going to be like the intro to the movie, or if that's something they specifically shot for the teaser trailer.
I hope it's for the teaser
I feel like
trailer.
it's just yeah.
I would like it more, I think, but I don't know. We'll see. But I just think it would also be like really amazing if like come the end of the year next year we're doing our best of, and my number one film is the Barbie movie. It's a world I can't imagine. Yeah, I can't imagine it, but like that Greta Gerwig's batting 1,000 for me so far, so we'll see.
Yeah, in Gerwig we trust for now.
Yes, that's
all right. Is that it? Did we do it?
That's it. Unless anyone has any honorable mentions except Chris, because he doesn't. You already.
Yeah, he already snuck one in. No, I don't want to get bogged down in honorable mentions right now. Also, I don't have any, so I don't want to look any up.
All right, fair enough. Well,
but do we want to do a recap?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Quick recap. Chris. Did we lose Chris?
I don't know where Chris went, but I'll go ahead and do mine real quick. So mine were Dune Part 2, Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1, Oppenheimer, and Killers of the Flower Moon.
Well, I'm here, guys.
Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. Mine was Knock at the Cabin, Meg 2, The Trench, Napoleon, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, Landscape with Invisible Hand / Beau is Afraid.
Awesome. Mine are Peter Pan and Wendy, Next Goal Wins, Shazam Fury of the Gods, Shazam 2, whatever that's called, How Do I Live, and Barbie.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, nothing crazy. Like not nothing, but like, I don't know. I guess I feel like this is missing, like, unless like Killers of the Flower Moon come out, I feel like this is missing like those like Babylon, The Whale, like those like, and maybe just because we don't hear about those movies that early in this.
Well,
early
it's like
in the year.
it's like Chris said. It's like we're hearing about a lot of sequels because those have dates pinned by studios years in advance.
Years in advance, yeah.
Yeah, I just feel like in the past we've had more like of those like movies that are on here because we think they could really, get into award season and go strong.
Sure.
Whether they're like art house or just awards contenders.
Sure.
Did we have Everything Everywhere All at Once on our lists anticipated list last year? I feel like we did.
It was so close to coming.
You did, Justin.
Yeah, it was so close to coming out. Yeah, I think that the full trailer was out and the marketing was everywhere when we did that episode. So it was like, yeah, I've seen enough to think that this movie looks rad.
Yeah, but that's in the awards conversation, so like, who knows what'll happen, and maybe Meg 2 will get Jason Statham his first Oscar nomination.
There you go.
Yeah.
So who knows?
That's dreaming. I love it. I love it.
We can only hope.
I love that you dream so vividly and wildly.
Yeah. I love that you're just putting it out there.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, does that do it for this episode then?
It does.
It sure does.
All right, cool. Well, thank you, listeners, so much for listening. Thanks, as always, to Jake Wagner Russell for doing our intro and outro music. If you want to hear more of his music, you can do so at soundcloud.com/bobscotch.
All right, stay tuned to this episode, subscribe, and all that stuff, because our next episode will be a casually Criterion over Solaris.
Woohoo!
Yay!
Thanks so much for listening, guys. We'll see you next time.
Yeah, hopefully. That's a question. It sounds like a question mark at the end of that, but
Bye.
all right.